Israel kills enough of these sons of bitches that this is not a problem again. Whenever anyone suggests that Israel is willfully killing civilians, that is the most ignorant, bigoted, anti-Semitic bullshit ever said. There cannot be a ceasefire. Anyone who calls for a ceasefire is a terrorist sympathizer under these circumstances.
What have you been smoking, boy? Huh? What have you been smoking? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. How are you guys doing? It's been a very volatile time because of the conflict, and it's been something which has really been, I'll be honest, infuriating me. It's making the entire Muslim ummah sad. It's making us very angry at the same time. Today I'm going to be refuting Ben Shapiro. I've refuted him in the past, and I'm going to be refuting him again. But before I do so, I just want to make something very clear. A lot of the people that are coming out and discussing some of the protests and some of the demonstrations or whatever that are being conducted by some pro-Palestinian sympathizers are framing it as some kind of celebration for the civilian deaths on the Jewish side. Now, what I'll say is this unequivocally. First of all, that's slander, quite frankly. And pro-Palestinianism is not equatable with anti-Semitism. It's not equatable with celebrations for Hamas. It's not killing civilians or whatever it may be. It's not equated with any of those things at all. And the flag of Palestine doesn't symbolize, and it will not symbolize, and it cannot symbolize, and it has not symbolized, civilian death or the celebration of civilian death. We don't celebrate, and this is a caveat I'm going to make, a disclaimer that I am going to make. Yes, we do not celebrate any death of any civilian from any religion or any background. No man, no woman, no child. And that is not despite the Islamic teachings. That is because of the Islamic teachings. Yes, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam unequivocally told us that the killing of women, of children, the mutilating of bodies, and so on and so forth, all of those things are unacceptable. And this is all in narrations and hadith which are muttafaqun alayh, which are authoritative and authentic. So there's no doubt about that. And you can go back to my Twitter feed where I put those hadiths in the Arabic language in which you can translate for your own convenience. So don't try it. Don't try and smear us. Don't try and slander us. Don't try and attack. Don't try and produce red herrings. Now let's go and talk about this situation. First and foremost, I'll say, yes, we condemn any woman, child, or whatever it may be that's being killed who's Jewish and who's not a non-combatant. But why is it the case, Ben? Why is it the case that none of your colleagues or you have been able to offer one single condolence, one single condemnation, one single word of sympathy for any of the Gazans that have been killed throughout the 16 years of blockade in the open air prison that is called Gaza? The suffocating conditions, the gag conditions that have been put in place. Why is it that you have not been able to apologize for supporting the IDF who have perpetrated such actions, knowing full well that when they do so, they will disproportionately kill civilian people? Why is it that in the imagination of the Western media, when someone is killed who is a Jew, who has a European Jew, frankly, a European Jew, who has lighter skin, that must be cried about and all the leaders must say something, but that if the Palestinian children, if the Palestinian women, if the Palestinian elderly are bombarded, actually the blessings are given. Not only that, encouragement is given for such a thing. Tell me why. Give me a reason. The first thing I want to respond to is something that you mentioned in your video. You talk about Amalek. Now, for those who don't understand who Amalek are a group that are mentioned in the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament. And if someone knows, for example, the book of Samuel, 1 Samuel chapter 15 verse 3, then we'll know that there is a genocidal prescription. Now, why is Ben Shapiro mentioning Amalek? Let's take a look at the video.
It did not matter. Just as in the Bible describes Amalek as preying on the weak and the elderly. That this is what they do.
As you can see here now, he's trying to preamble his discussion by talking about Amalek. Now, who are Amalek here? Is it Hamas or is it the Palestinians? This is my question, because you've kept it quite vague here. You've kept it quite vague here because if we look at the Old Testament, it says that go and kill the men, the women, the children, the oxen, the sheep, and even the ass. And even the ass. And I think you're an ass, a jackass. That's what you are. That's what you are. Because you're talking, as we'll see, you're crying with alligator tears. You're crying about the death of the civilians on the Jewish side. But not one word is spoken. Not one word is spoken about any of the suffering on the other side. We can't take you seriously. Let's take a look at what you say. You say 3 times, this is what evil looks like.
Again, we all have to watch this. This is what evil looks like. It's what evil looks like. It's what evil looks like. It's what evil looks like.
Okay, this is what evil looks like. I agree. If a child is killed, and this is a big if, by the way, in جاءكم فاسق بنبأ فتبينوا. These reports, the Quran says if someone comes to you with a news, if an evildoer comes to you, and you are the biggest evildoers, with the news, then you have to verify. A lot of the stuff that's coming out, we don't even know for sure if that's happening or not. But for the sake of argument, some of it we can say beyond reasonable doubt is happening and we condemn. No problem. Any person that's a non-combatant, woman, child, whatever, we condemn the killing of that person. Having said that, you said this is what evil looks like. You're saying that's what evil looks like, but when it comes to the images that you're seeing in Gaza, that's not what evil looks like. That's not what evil looks like. Let's take a look at Exhibit A. That's not enough for you. Let's take a look at Exhibit B. Statistically and objectively, if you look at all the operations that have been done, Operation Cast Lead, Operation Protective Edge, the 2021 operation, and then this operation, all of those operations in the 16 years that Gaza has been blockaded, how many Palestinians have died? How many civilians have died? Answer me that question. How many civilians have died? How many women have died? How many children have died? How many? In 16 years, how many? Thousands and thousands and thousands. Thousands, and not one tear, not one word spoken. Because you know what? You prefer the blood of your children, the Jewish children, Israeli children, over the blood of ours. Full stop. How could you not condemn the IDF from doing these bombardments when they know full well that if they do these bombardments, they would disproportionately kill women and children? They do these bombardments, therefore they disproportionately kill women and children. Don't say that, oh, Hamas is using them as human shields. Hamas is using them as, like what? Every single member of Hamas has got a child in front of him like that and holding him like this? Is this the comic book picture that you're trying to portray here? 2.2 million civilians. Are there even enough Hamas to go around and hold them as human shields like that? A child? Are you dumb? Are you crazy? And why are you trying to portray as if the only way that there can be an offensive, an attack and defending, as you call it, Israel has to defend it? Why are you making it seem as if that's the only way is through aerial bombardment? Where the vast majority of people that are going to be killed are going to be men, women and children that are non-combatants? Surely there can be boots on ground. Surely you can be a man. The IDF can be men, real brave, real gallant, real courageous, which is something you can't fathom or don't know anything about. You have no fortitude at all. You have not shown any ability to engage with people even on an intellectual and conversational level. That's how lacking of fortitude that you are. Why don't they go face to face with Hamas? Fight them. Why'd you have to kill the child? Why'd you have to kill the woman? Oh, it's 100% collateral damage. And all of the generals that I've been seeing, I say, yeah, collateral damage. They've been asked by the Western media, collateral damage. It's going to be the worst thing. One of them says the worst thing since World War II. And you're talking to me about the Holocaust when you have one of your commanders telling, yeah, it's going to be the worst thing since the Holocaust, effectively. And we're not talking about Hamas. We're talking about children here. We're talking about women here. We're talking about elderly people. You make me sick. You make me sick. But what's even worse is that you go on to talk about the Palestinians and you deny that it's even an apartheid state. Let's take a look at what you say.
Let me point out at this point, there is no apartheid. 20% of Israel's population is Arab.
So you deny that Israel is an apartheid state? Why don't you look at any factual definition of what apartheid is? Apartheid is when there's discrimination based on race. A good example of that is South Africa. In a state, are you telling me Sheikh Jarrah was not apartheid? Are you telling me what happened in Sheikh Jarrah when there was dispossession, when there was detainment, when there was not a fair chance for the Muslim Palestinians, or not even Muslims, it could be any Palestinian, Christian even, that they would not have a fair judiciary crack at the whip? You're telling me this is equivalent to this? This guy's rights are equivalent to these guys' rights? Are you dumb? Are you mad? Are you crazy? What have you been smoking, boy? Huh? What have you been smoking? Your voice is so high, we've been taking some helium? Are you crazy? Are you mad? Don't go there. And what's even worse is that you go further than this. You talk about the annexation. Listen to this. This guy who thinks he's talking about, he's calling everyone else Nazis, but he seems to have the most fascistic and authoritarian dictatorial prescriptions. He's calling everyone else, all of his rivals, as Nazis. The Hamas Nazis, this Nazis, that one Nazis, the left-wing Nazi. Yeah. And what you're prescribing are effectively authoritarian dictatorship type, Nazi type policies. Let's take a look at what you talk about when you talk about the annexation of Gaza.
Whether Israel annexes the Gaza Strip, as it damn well should, because the Palestinians have proved themselves incapable of self-governance in the Gaza Strip by allowing Hamas to overrun them.
Now, this is beggars belief, really. Either you don't understand how the political system of certain countries and states work, you're blissfully ignorant, or you're intentionally ignorant, or you're trying to fool the ignorant. Either way, ignorance must feature in this analysis. Ignorance must feature in this analysis. If you're saying that Israel's not an apartheid state, but then in the next breath, you are recommending formal annexation through conquest, which, as you know, is against international law. But you don't care about international law. Forget international law, no problem. Don't call your country a democracy. Don't call your country a pluralistic place or a liberal place. Don't be stupid. You're calling for annexation because the Palestinians are not capable of choosing the right people. So you must make the decision for them, don't you, Ben? You must make the decision for them. Are you okay? Are you okay? And what's shocking is that those protectors, the bastions, the archetypes, the personifications, the walking freedom of speech advocates who are with you at the Daily Wire, none of them are saying, wait a minute, doesn't this deny self-determination? Isn't this against constitutional American rights that we speak about so much? None of your friends have told you that, wait a minute, let's rephrase this a little bit so it can be in line with maybe some constitutional principles that we are espousing elsewhere, that we're advocating elsewhere, that we're speaking about elsewhere. How could this be in line with democracy? How could this be like? Because that's what you preach. So why don't you practice what you preach? But no, it's Palestinians. As I don't know what his name is, the politicians, they're human animals, right? They're human animals, so they have to be treated as a second, not even no determination, self-determination. Okay, fine, have it your way. But don't call yourself not an apartheid state. You're an apartheid state. Don't pretend to be a liberal democracy. Do not pretend to be a liberal democracy. And don't call other people Nazis when your prescriptions are Nazistic and fascistic in nature. I don't know how the general public in America, most of which believe in a kind of constitutionalism, a kind of democracy, the majority of them, how could they tolerate this behavior? It must be that dehumanization has reached a critical boiling point, critical mass. It has to have reached critical mass, where these people now, honestly, their death and the images that we saw in the beginning of this video are inconsequential. It must be that they're inconsequential. Absolutely sickening and disgusting. And I think you've been watching a lot of my videos because you're starting to use my vernacular.
He has an unfortunate history of being pusillanimous about all this.
Pusillanimous? I don't know of any better word to describe you. A person who's been challenged in debate for a very, very long time. And all you can approach as a college student. Just like the IDF, cowardly. You're cowardly because the IDF want low risk, high reward. And for them, a high reward is high civilian casualties. Where they're pressing buttons in planes when they're very safe. But they don't want face-to-face confrontation. Why haven't we seen boots on ground? This is absolutely cowardly behavior. Why is there aerial bombardment which affects a majority of civilians? Why are you advocating this? You're a coward. The IDF are cowards, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Pusillanimous. You're a puss. You're a puss. I can't see a bigger puss than you. Cannot think of a bigger puss than you. Don't use that term as if you've got something. Any kind of fortitude. Walking around with security guards everywhere. You make me sick. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.